Don't do it.
What is happening, people? It is Brian Alsruhe with NeverSay.com, and for today's video, I want to talk to you guys about recovery, but not so much in the big kind of macro view where people say, yeah, I do lacrosse ball work for recovery, I do ice baths, whatever people do. What I wanted to do today is actually take you guys through an actual routine that I regularly do with lacrosse ball, virtually at least 4 times a week, depending on how long, depends on how beat up I am, but I'm gonna take you guys through it so that hopefully you guys will have some idea of a routine to do on your own. Now, of course, if you have something beat up or you have injuries or past injuries or medical conditions or whatever the case may be, you're obviously gonna have to spend more time on those individualized things that you're going to need more than just following a stupid routine that I came up with. However, these, for me personally, are definitely the areas for prehab, right? This is like changing the oil in my car. I'm not necessarily fixing anything sometimes. Sometimes I'm just trying to prevent bad things from happening. However, every single point that I hit in this type of routine are definitely areas that I tend to tweak the most or injure the most because they have such high usage. Therefore, it's gonna be regularly used. The same exact thing, whether it be for recovery, prehab, rehab, being too beat up, trying to fix something or whatever the case may be. I pretty much do this no matter what. Now I do realize that there are some of you out there right now going, what does lacrosse ball have to do with my lifting? And that's what I'm gonna go into right now. The reason why we're talking about this at all is because if you've been lifting with any sort of intensity for any sort of time, things happen. Realize that strength sports in general are about destruction, right? You're tearing down muscle all the time. If you tear down muscle a little bit, the appropriate amount, you make gains, you make progress. If you tear a little bit more, you go to the hospital and you take months off, millimeters. And anytime that you're taking a physical endeavor to that sort of level, things are gonna kind of happen here and there, and that's why so many people get tweaks. It's no different, it's part of the game. Same way that if I played pickup basketball every single day for 6 months, I would probably roll an ankle, I'd probably catch an elbow. Things happen, right? You're doing a physical thing, stuff happens. This is gonna help you be able to do it longer, safer, and keep you out of less pain, more pain. Because from time to time your muscles are fatigued or you work too far, you stretch something too far, you got out of whack, something happened and your muscles, in order to protect you, decided to clench up. Now typically this is referred to as a spasm, and it could go as far as like mild discomfort when you're sitting in a chair, it just sucks, to like a kind of mild to mid-range one where like you tweak something in your back and suddenly you're going, I can't breathe, I don't know what happened, but I can't breathe. And then also at times they can get very, very serious. They can actually pull other things out of alignment, joints out of place. They can cause nerve pain. They can create a bunch of issues, numbness, tingling, all kinds of stuff that is bad, and something as simple as a little $1 ball can help you solve all of that if you follow what I'm gonna talk about today. The reason why is because this thing can be the poor man's deep tissue massage. If any of you have had a deep tissue massage, and I'm not talking about a massage where you're like, wow, this feels great. I'm talking about a massage that involves like elbows and knees and heels and just super, super painful, like bearing down, wanting to bite down on a towel because it is so painful type of massage. That's pretty much exactly what you're trying to do here. And that massage is not meant to be like a pleasant experience. It is meant to fix you. And you have to realize that the problem that you did to spasm your back or your legs or your thighs or whatever it is, that spasm was caused either by a long time of progressively small little screw-ups or a big acute thing that made something grab, and most time that had to do with a lot of weight. So it's gonna take a lot of pressure or a lot of time to release this. So don't expect laying down on a cross ball and getting in a little bit of pain for a while to simply fix everything overnight. It's going to take time. It took time to mess you up this bad. It's gonna take time to fix you, much like losing weight. Everyone wants it to happen immediately. However, you didn't, gain 60 extra pounds over a weekend. That took time, and it's gonna take time to come off. Same thing with your recovery. Now, the reason why I personally always use a lacrosse ball as opposed to something like a foam roller is because number one, a foam roller doesn't travel nearly as easy as this. I have one of these in my Jeep. I have one of them in my bag, my competition bag. We have them at the Jeep. They're all over my house, all right? They're like $1. They're cheap. You can buy a bunch of them and just kind of spread them out. Plus your dogs can chew on them and they can't really wreck these up that bad. Secondly, I'm able to get a lot more pinpoint pressure exactly where the hurting area is, as opposed to a foam roller that I can't really get exactly where I want it to. You have to think about like popping a balloon. If you just took like your finger and you put it on top of a balloon, it's not gonna pop. But if you took like a pencil point and you push, just that more direct pressure is going to be better and better. That's why if you can't get a knot to release through deep tissue massage or this or other sorts of myofascial release, then you may want to go to something like dry needling, because all it is just a more exact point trying to get to the point of spasm to get it to release. And then thirdly, and probably most importantly, this is the right tool for the job for me and my problems. So oftentimes I have issues with my shoulders. I know a lot of people have issues with their shoulders, And here's the deal, guys. Many times when I think something is impinged or something's on my shoulder, it's actually not. It's something knotted up around my shoulder blade or in my back or in my trap that is limiting my range of motion or screwing something up in there. You can't really get to that with anything other than something like this or a more direct pressure object. However, when you're working on yourself, this is a really, really great tool to get around those shoulder blades to help release things. A lot of my other problems stem from my lower back. For those of you who don't know, I've actually broken my back twice in the past. Neither was lifting related. And the second time was so bad that my hip flexor was actually paralyzed for about 6 months where I couldn't pick up my leg. That was a really, really rough time. But to say that I understand about nerve pain and lower back pain and everything going involved with that is very much an understatement. And one thing that I will tell most people, 99% of people out there that think that they have a lower back problem, most of the time it's something in your hips being locked up because you're spending too much time sitting, or it's your posture, whatever else case may be. But rolling a lacrosse ball around on your hips can oftentimes release a lot of that pressure that is pulling on your lower back, releasing nerve pain, releasing all kinds of other things. So that is absolutely massive. And then also, because of my lower back injuries, I often have problems with hamstring flexibility. Like, my hamstrings are really tight. Sometimes it'll pull me out of position on certain movements. However, it's not really my hamstrings that are tight, it is the bottom of my feet. I'm not taking good enough care of them. And if I simply roll out the bottom of my feet on a ball, I will increase the range of motion on like a sit and reach test. If I roll it out again, I'll get even further, and before I know it, I'm feeling much more mobile, my hamstrings feel more loose, I feel less tension just all around, and I'm able to get in better positions, which of course keeps me safer and stronger. It's a good thing. We're gonna go over now exactly what I do with this to make all of that happen. So typically I will do this about a half an hour before I go to bed because the relaxation also helps me sleep a little bit. Plus it's really, really nice to kind of have that coming down period where you're either listening to music or whatever it is that you're doing to kind of bring your mind down, but you're also getting through a decent amount of pain, and then those endorphins kick in. It kind of makes you feel all happy and floaty when you drift off to sleep. So before bed is typically when I do this, and I start out from the top and I work my way down. Now personally, I'm on the ground constantly with this. Some people throw it against the wall and they lean against it, but I cannot get enough pressure. Even on the ground, sometimes I can't get enough pressure, at which time I'll grab like a 45-pound plate or some other heavy object and stick it on top of my chest to provide a little bit more pressure downward onto this ball. So starting out, I will get in almost like a bridge position while I'm trying to find knots in my upper trap, lower trap, rhomboid, top of my shoulder blade kind of area. Now, a lot of people will go into all kinds of like vernacular do this, and if you guys want to go into that in another channel, please feel free. All that I will say, you don't need to worry about that. Just stay off the bones, all right? Stay in the meaty parts, roll around till you find something that hurts really bad. Some people call that trigger points. But once you find one of these trigger points, you're gonna wanna hang out and kind of stay with it for a while. Now, guys, the lumps in your back, these spasms, these seizures, whatever you wanna call them, those balls, it's gonna be tough to chase down. It's almost like having two magnets with the opposite ends facing. The closer you get, it kind of slides around. Very much like if you're trying to push a bubble down inside of a container, that bubble will always run around from you. Very similarly, as you're laying down on top of the lacrosse ball, that lump is going to try to run away from you. As you roll the round object towards it, it's gonna move. Not only does that not feel spectacular, it's also not helping you release it. So you kind of need to coax your way into it. Roll towards it, get close to it, get some pressure, hang out there for a little bit, get a little bit more on it, hang out there for a little bit, get a little more pressure on it, and then it's probably gonna roll on you and you need to start over again. But you just continually chase that lump around and try to stick on it in all that extreme pain. You're gonna get kind of weird nerve pain coming around into your head, into your arms. Everything's gonna be feeling bad, all right? However, if you can do it long enough and you hit the correct points and it is ready to release, then literally you will feel that lump almost feel like it melts. It will just kind of lay out. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, that doesn't happen very often. I don't feel that much at all. Now, granted, I may not be the guru of the lacrosse ball laying down owning, and I know there's tons of people that can literally get knots to melt like they're magic and they abracadabra them out. However, for me, it typically takes a long amount of time and a lot of chasing before I can actually feel that. But once that does happen, it is awesome. But do remember, just because something relaxes doesn't mean it's gone. You need to continually work that area, keep it smooth, because it's literally just kind of like dancing, right? All it's gonna take is one little bit of the wrong stimulus and it's gonna regrab. But again, find those hot spots all up in your traps and then go down along the sides of your spine, along each one of your rhomboids, trace the outsides of your shoulder blades, go into the outside of your rear delt, really trace everywhere back there that you can. Now, if you have never done this before, trust me, you're gonna find a lot of spots. Even if you do this daily, most likely you're gonna find one or two. It's just gonna take time. It took time to get you in this position. It's gonna take time to get it out. But just remember, every single minute that you're spending on this trying to get that tension release, you're reducing stress, you're reducing cortisol, you're gonna help yourself sleep. You're gonna help everything going on with your lifting. If someone asks me, what is more important, like a fit day in the gym or spending 20, 30 minutes on a ball trying to release all your problem areas every single night, I'd probably say doing the recovery work on the ball will get you further in the long run than spending the extra time in the gym. Now, I'd be lying to you guys to say that I only spend like 2 or 3 minutes on each side of my shoulder blades with this. To be honest, this is probably the majority of the work. If I spend 2 hours rolling out on a ball, probably 1 hour and like 58 minutes is spent on my shoulder blades areas. I just have so much problems up there, especially right now because of the five surgeries this year and all the problems that I've had. So that is where the majority of my time is spent. Now, some people will just take 2 of these balls and they will tape them together like this. And this is something just called a peanut, all right? You just take athletic tape, tape 2 balls together, and you can see, you can work this all the way down your spine, and it does a really good job of getting cracks out and also working your erectors. However, to be honest with you, I don't use it a lot. But if you want to, have fun. The second area that I'll spend some time on is this whole line here. So I'll start tricep, kind of tie-in, insertion, and origin points here into my lat, trying to work this whole area here, because as you guys know, this section here, especially right where your lat ties into the back of your rear delt, you will get a lot of little tweaks and stuff, especially if you're involved in strongman or powerlifting where you're doing a lot of progressive overload with things like deadlift and a lot of posterior chain work. So hitting this area and getting it to release is an amazing thing, not only for your overhead work as far as your range of motion goes and actually having to get your head through that movement, but releasing all of this can help your bench, it can help your squat, it can help your deadlift, it can help all of it. Make sure you spend some time on your armpits, and then work our way further down the body. The next area I hit is my hips. Like I said, extensive back injuries, especially my lower back, tons of pain. I still can't feel my feet correctly. The outer sweeps of my legs are completely numb. You can literally cut me with a knife. I can't feel it. There's a lot of bad stuff going on there. So having loose hips is absolutely imperative if I'm going to be able to walk or squat or deadlift or do absolutely anything that has to do with moving around. Now I will focus on the entire hip area and anywhere that hurts super bad, but primarily there's a pocket on the front of my hip that I hit super hard, and then there's a pocket on the back of my hip that I hit super hard, and then I hit all the areas in between and start trying to work my way down the IT band just a little bit. Oftentimes, if I have a lot of pain, I will continue to work down the IT band, but I do make sure to spend a ton of time on that entire hip region and just get it completely loosened up. But once those hip pockets have been taken care of, the fourth thing I move on to is my glutes. Now, I do not spend a lot of time on my glutes because it hurts really bad. Now, if you're going to choose to roll out your glutes with this, I would encourage you to sit flat on the ground and just start out getting this thing slightly underneath you and just start rolling around. And then slowly over time, start to bring a little bit more pressure off of the floor so that it gets more and more on the ball. But do not sit yourself right down on top of this immediately, because that is going to send a shock of pain that you're not gonna be ready for. Now, once that gets a little bit too easy and not quite as painful, you can start to cross your leg over in almost a figure 4 stretch and then hit your glute from there as well. However, I'll warn you, that is not something that you're gonna wanna do the first time you sit on a ball, because everything's gonna be so tight that that's gonna be plenty painful. But do make sure that you're not only hitting where you sit down on the ball, make sure you hit the sides of your glute and also the tie-in between where your glute and your hamstring kind of get together. From there, I'll often work the lower half of my IT band as well as my quad. Now, a lot of people complain about knee pain, especially in the kneecap area, and oftentimes that is nothing more than patella tendonitis, and rolling out your quad either with a foam roller or especially with a lacrosse ball to help release some of those hot spots is going to do a lot to alleviate a lot of that pain. However, you need to think about how much is being all tensed up around your knee with all the squats and deadlifts and all the intense training that you're doing. So you do want to work all the way around the quad and everything around that knee as well. All those tears happen all the time, and oftentimes it's just because something is too locked up and pulling, and if it could be released, maybe you'll be able to stay safer longer. I'm not saying that it will, I'm saying that it's not gonna hurt. And then I finished up by rolling out my feet. Now, I truly did not believe that rolling out your feet would make that much of a difference. However, if you don't have time for anything else and you just sit down or stand up, whatever you wanna do, roll out your feet, take 5 minutes just to roll out. 2 minutes one side, 2 minutes the other side. You'll be astounded at the amount of release of tension that goes through your entire body. We do not take good enough care for our feet. If you guys remember in Die Hard, you guys remember when Bruce Willis gets to the hotel and starts grabbing the carpet with his feet and he says starts making him feel better because the dude on the plane told him to do it? Same idea, guys. just getting some of that tension out of your feet not only is going to release a ton of muscles like from your hamstrings all the way up, but it's just going to release tension and help you out, okay? So that is where I finished up with the lacrosse ball. That is pretty much what I do. Now this, depending on how beat up I am, can take me 15 minutes, it can take me 2 hours. It really has to do with how much pain I'm in, what's going on, how bad I've hurt myself, how much damage is actually there, but taking the time to do this does a lot to keep me injury-free, to keep me performing as well as I possibly can, as well as just out of pain in everyday life. So if you're sitting at your desk and you're like, man, my back really hurts, or you're sitting in your car and you're like, I have pain going down my leg or anything like that, can't pick up your shoulders, have trouble with this kind of stuff, maybe this could be the answer, and just spending a couple minutes a day doing this instead of watching an extra 15 minutes of the news or sports center could get you just feeling a lot better and performing a lot better. So guys, if you want to give it a try, please feel free. I hope this was helpful to some of you guys, because I know so many times out there, people say they do something, but I don't actually know what they do. Now, there are much better resources out there than myself. Somebody like Kelly Starrett, who wrote Becoming a Supple Leopard, has forgotten more about mobility than I will ever know. So I would encourage you guys to research more in depth of more competent individuals than myself on these topics. However, this is personally what I do and what works for me. So hopefully you guys will apply it to your own training and give yourselves a little bit of help. So guys, thanks so much for staying with me and watching these videos. I do thank you guys for absolutely everything you do. I will catch up with you later in the week. Until I do, go out to something amazing in your lives. Keep working hard, people. Be nice to each other. I'll see you then.